I don't know why you'd use the Willamette River as a water source, but hey, okay.
That's kind of scary.
Oh, well, sure. But again, if this is the first time you've heard that, I mean, it's publicly available. So I'm just saying you could go to certain lengths, and after a certain part, it becomes fanatical and crazy to even be that concerned about it, because it's not something you can change. So you want to deal with the things that you can change. So one of the things you can change is how much you rely internally for your well-being. Client I just left, all right? 2 years into recovery from meth. Wondering why am I going into depression all of a sudden? Like, I was having a great day. Where is that coming from? Okay, so what was the trigger? So we've been working on, okay, start a meditation practice, even if it's just 11 minutes of doing this. Here, I'll give you another one that ups the ante from that. I just want you to pay attention so that when the depression happens, you can return to this address that can allow you to look at the depression without getting caught in the middle of it. It's kind of like being in a wave in the ocean. Are you in deep enough water or shallow enough water so you can stand and the wave breaks around you without knocking you off your feet? Or if you do get swept off your feet and you're in a riptide, I don't know how many of you experienced that, but a riptide is basically pulling you out. Okay, so the way to get out of it is swim parallel to the beach, which means you have to have the presence of mind not to freak out because you're being swept farther away from shore. Like, start swimming parallel to the shore and you'll be out of the riptide in 30 feet. Right? Simple. But you have to have the basic skill to do that, to stay calm. So that's what the skill is, for example, even in being a drug counselor, is not freaking out when people are in crisis. Oh, seen this before. Or even if I haven't seen this before, it's better to respond to this being calm and let them freak out. And your being calm will chill them out. Okay, pay attention to your feelings, and then I'll ask a question like, do you feel this? And it's usually them. Because if you're calm, wait, I'm not angry, they're angry. That's what I'm picking up on, right? But you have to be centered enough to get to that place. Okay, so where are you connected? How do you become more connected? How deep can you go? I mean, really, because even Jesus lost it and turned the money changers' tables over on them, so got him killed a week later, but hey, you don't have to do that, right? So, right, okay. So, in terms of looking at mental health, if codependence causes distortions in reality to accommodate an addictive reality. So, I'm going to give you a little piece of the science below what this is talking about, this statement is. Codependent means you're in a relationship with somebody that's using. You may not be using anything, but your brain is adapting to being in a crisis environment and getting used to it. Almost as if you were on the drugs yourself, by being in proximity to it. It's affecting you, right? So, codependency causes distortions in reality to accommodate an addictive reality. So, it's not so much that the reality is getting distorted, but your perception of it is changing. Okay? It's an occupational hazard in my field. I tend to see everything through an addictive lens, when that may or may not be going on. But it's easy to go there because it's so ubiquitous, ever present. But that's where I go to rule it out first. Okay, if it's not drugs producing this, what is it? So, if you have been traumatized without being given help, access to tools or concepts, A daily praxis. I love that word, praxis. Here's what praxis means. It's the intersection of theory and practice. People can have a theory that may or may not match reality or may explain reality incompletely. And so the way you test the theory is, well, how does this work in the real world? And if it doesn't work in the real world, you can trash the theory, or if it does work in the real world, but with a little change, then they need to explain the change. So there's an example. Take, for example, what the meme that I just gave you about codependency. So I would be, my parents are not alcoholic, but being black in America is like some of our scientists have basically said, it's kind of like it's an extreme environment. So what I got reminded of constantly was essentially, okay, we're three generations out of sharecropping and 4 generations out of slavery. So you need to be twice as good as your white friends. You need to read more, you need to be able to do math better, you need to be able to speak better, twice as good to be considered equal to them to get a job, to compete. Whoa, a lot of pressure. Get used to it. You're black, you're going to college. Medical school, regular college. Any questions? Oh, okay. And you're the lead child. So you have to be the shining example. So I have to be the super coper, heroine, and then my sister, became the scapegoat. She became the bad child. She had 3 different, at 16, she had 3 different charge accounts at like Saks Fifth Avenue under my mother's name while my mother had accounts there. So i.e. fraud. So like, okay, why does my sister have more clothes than my mom, and how come mom and dad aren't checking that out? Right? That's a piece. Bringing home gang members and all these other folks. Brother became kind of like the lost child or whatever. Little sister, the mascot, became the doctor in the family because I rebelled by not being the doctor. Right? So all that without substance abuse, but an environmental stressor, systemic discrimination. Right? So traumatized without being given help. Now, we didn't have help. The help was our science, which basically I had a whole library full of books that said, here's how you get out of that. Here's how you can be twice as good easily. Just study more. Have a love of reading. So access to tools, concepts, and a daily practice for healing and thriving. So that daily practice was actually doing political work as a high schooler. How many of you voted? Okay, well, I worked for the 18-year-old vote in middle school when I was 15, before I could get it, in 1968. So that you could have the 18-year-old vote now. Now, how many middle schoolers are working for politics? Now, working praxis. This is what we're going to do. Girls are getting pregnant in school. Okay, we need better sex education. We're going to go on strike to get it. Obviously, here's what we want. Free contraceptives passed out through the health office. Now, this was in 1971. Ronald Reagan was governor. No, we ain't having that. Well, then you allow the girls to stay in school and complete. Because the rule used to be you show, you go. I see many of the women are wearing jeans. Wearing jeans was illegal in school. Wearing pants was illegal for girls in school in 1968. Wearing Levi's was illegal in LA Unified because it was gang attire. that's when gangs were white kids like James Dean wearing white t-shirts and Levi's. I mean, that's how, so we were student activists wearing jeans and, you know, and changing all that stuff, right? Those were stressors. So part of what mental health is, if your role models use substances and you may or may not use substances, what would the system's response be to help you? That depends on whether the system is going to allow itself to be consciously aware that this stuff is going on and to formulate a response to it. Otherwise, you have to come up with your own response. Maybe, if you think about that. So part of when we're talking about mental health, well, here's what the system responds to in terms of mental health. So we have this label called dual diagnosis. So one of the things I'm going to give you as civilians is kind of like, many of you may have psych diagnoses already. Maybe you are on medication. It's okay. Part of the system's response, though, is labeling. Okay, which may get you treatment as far as treatment goes, which is as far as the established accepted medical practice goes, which might not be close enough for you to be mentally healthy. I can say that another way. The system labels you. Okay, so for example, let's give you a diagnosis. All right, gnosis is a Greek word. Hey, what are you doing? Okay, don't play like that. Always have a backup plan when the machine goes stupid on you. 384. Diagnosis. Di means to. Gnosis means to know. So when you put an A in front of gnosis, it means don't know. So to, don't know. Now, the reason I'm playing this word game is just to show you something about how Western medicine works. So hopefully your medical professional knows and says, I'm going to give you this label. So throw out some psych diagnosis labels.
Bipolar disorder.
Bipolar disorder. What else?
Like mental illnesses? Or just anything illnesses?
Yeah, sure. Mental illnesses, whatever.
Multi-personality disorder?
Okay, multiple personality disorder, MPD, or also it'll be called dissociative disorder. That's the new name for it. So bipolar, dissociative, what else? Schizophrenia. Oh, you're deciding to work now. How nice of you. Okay? Obsessive compulsive disorder. Okay, so what's the treatment for bipolar? Pills. What is the medical explanation for what bipolar disorder is?
Chemical imbalance.
Chemical imbalance, huh? Okay. What chemical? No. Not lithium's outside of your body. What chemical in your body is imbalanced?
Doesn't it depend on if you go like manic depressive or manic angry? Like, doesn't it depend on which?
We're not sure, we just know
Well,
it's a
it
chemical
might
imbalance.
be dopamine,
I thought it wasn't even like there is no
set balance
limit.
of chemicals in your brain.
Right. Okay, so I want you to notice something, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just notice what the conversation is in society. Okay? What she said is accurate. There has never been a chemical balance set for what is the normal balance of the 85 neurotransmitters and neurochemicals that we've identified. There is no normal balance set. Okay? So when they say they're using the pill to correct the chemical imbalance, yes, they are affecting the level of one or two chemicals to produce an effect in you, but is that because you have low, or maybe you're responding to something else? Okay, but if they don't tell you that, or all they say is a chemical imbalance, without saying, well, what do I need to do to get imbalance? Like, what is causing this imbalance? Is it diet? Is it exercise? Is it the way I'm thinking? Is it listening to people like you? What is it? Okay, two don't know. One knows, and they're making a call based on the convenient, give them a pill. My father is a psychiatrist, basically says, look, most of the people that I'm seeing and I'm giving pills to are not mentally ill. They're not actually mentally ill. They are experiencing life stress. Yeah, I've been working for this company for 30 years. It sent my job to Indonesia. I'm now going, because we only have one income and it's not enough. My wife and I are going through divorce. Our teenagers are telling us to F off. Getting into trouble, I'm under stress. That's not mental illness, that's life. So is Prozac going to help that? No, but that's all he's allowed to give, even though he was trained to basically counsel people through their problems. All the state insurance will pay for is 15 minutes, not a 50-minute hour. Okay, so the default solution has been giving people pills, not skills, and you know how I feel about that. Right? Pills are not skills. Let's develop skills. Two have to know. So my thing is, I want you to know what the working theory is as civilians, and I'm not going to say, I can't ethically say you need to stop taking your meds, but I'm saying when you are, quote unquote, bipolar, there are natural ups and downs that happen in your mood. You naturally have mood swings, and the key is not to give you lithium or Effexor or some other, Cymbalta or whatever, some other medication to artificially raise the level of one neurotransmitter so that you feel better. That's one solution. Another solution could be to have you experience a wider bandwidth of peace so that in the ups and downs, you're not tweaked out by them. That would be a skill to go along with your pill. Or that you could drop the pill. Okay, but we don't do that. Schizophrenia. Okay, there's several different working theories about where schizophrenia is. Without going into them, basically, let's say that you're like a mirror. Your personality is like a mirror, and it gets broken. Right? You think of bad luck happening when you break mirrors, right? So, you basically try to create a personality from the trauma from broken pieces. How does the drug help you do that? Does not. Helps you suppress the experience of some of the bigger broken pieces without giving you the skill to cope. Right? So, this diagnosis, this labeling, so as far as the accepted established medical practice goes, it's not about skill building. It's about, okay, we don't have time to give you skills, so we'll give you these pills and you cope on your own.
If that doesn't work, we'll try something else.
Yeah,